I haven't switched.
Okay,
The directions are weird.
Today.
Joan, roll call, please.
Kate Harrison,
Here.
Roger Tone.
Here.
Mike Parsons,
Here.
John Edwards,
Here.
John Quinn.
Okie dokie, and a motion to accept the consent agenda, please.
I'll make that motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of the minutes of the meeting of December 20th, 2023, as presented or modified. I second that.
Okay. Now, we are at resolution 2401.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call.
Kate Harrison.
Yeah.
Roger Tone.
Yes.
Mike Parsons.
Yes.
John Edwards.
Yes.
Okay, now we do the resolution of 2401, an award of the bid
Yes,
for,
this is our annual cure in place pipe projects. I think this is mostly in Jacksonville again, if I'm not positive. Got 3 bids, came in pretty good. Total was $418,000 change. And so we are recommending award of the bid to In Situ Form Technologies for that amount.
Jokie. Can I have a motion, please?
I move to approve resolution 2401, award bid for the fiscal year 2024 CIPP project.
I'll second.
To Form Technologies in the amount of $418,044.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Kate Harrison,
Yes.
Roger Tone.
Yes.
Mike Parsons,
Yes.
John Edwards.
Yes. Does it become more competitive, getting bids for those?
It's typically about 3 or 4. Pretty consistent every time we notice it.
All righty, project update.
Okay, well, Nick's not here, so I'll go through this and we got the good news on the cure in place bid, now we get bad news on the antelope. So we had the bid opening last week for Antelope Road. We got 1 bidder
Oh,
and it came in at about $8.5 million, which is about $2 to $2.5 million more than we expected.
wow.
Yeah. So we've got a couple of different ways, and I updated a memo that just got added into the final report. But basically, we've got kind of 3 things that we can do. We can bite the bullet and accept it. We can reject it flat out, to say we're not awarding this and rebid it. Or we can try to scale it back and bring it into a cost that's more reasonable. So we've looked at a couple of different ways to scale it back. And this project itself, I mean, it's what, 3 miles of pipe. It's a big project. And so from where we start on Pacific Avenue and down Antelope Road to 11th Street, our plan was to dig and replace all of that. And then from that point, all the way across Highway 62 to Division Street, we were going to slip. So a couple of places that we could, if we wanted to trim the project, if we cut it back to 11th Street and just did all the dig and replace, that would knock about $700,000. If we brought it back to 7th Street, which is another realistic location to stop it, we would bring it under the $6 million that we have in our loan application. Or we can bring it all the way back to 3rd Street, which is another spot that's kind of amenable to stopping there. Nick is pretty confident that if we brought it back to 7th, that the remaining part, we could end up slip lining all of that rather than do dig and replace, which we would do at a later date, which would end up being a little bit less expensive. We have talked to DEQ about this because they're financing it with that loan. And basically they told us, yeah, those are your options. But they would most likely be willing to increase the loan amount to cover that. I don't personally like that idea. The fact that we got 1 bid is a little disturbing, and it just seems really inflated it. And, we did push this, to a much bigger project than what we would normally do, in part because, we knew that there was going to be some principal forgiveness. Well, if the benefit of the principal forgiveness goes to the contractor, was really used for doing that.
Yeah.
So I think what I would like to recommend is that we trim the project back to 7th Street, which takes care of the most critical needs that we have on that run. We can leave the future to another time, and we can do that as a slip lining project just in a normal course of operations. It would still maximize the advantage we get from the principal forgiveness and get us within a price that I think is more realistic, although we don't get all the work done that we wanted to get done. And if that's agreeable to the board, our next step is to go to the contractor and say, hey, we're not going to award this unless you accept this change order to reduce the scope. And then we would bring it back next month for award.
If they don't accept the change order, are you gonna just go ahead and put it back out for them again?
Yeah, so we have a pretty good, I guess a pretty strong position in either, you accept what these changes that we're gonna need, or we just go out, back out the bid. We would make some minor changes to it when we go out to bid, just to try to make it more attractive. And apparently one of the things that was that a lot of the contract, we had, I don't know, 5 or 6 legitimate plan holders, but not the only one of them bid. But one of the issues that they all raised was with the traffic control requirements. Because we're going right down the middle of Antelope Road, the county was telling them that they had to have all of their equipment off the road at the end of each workday. That's a lot. I mean, that's you're looking at 2 hours or more of hauling equipment in and out every day. So that cuts.
And there's no
productivity
place
by
out there
20
for
or
them to
30%.
stage it, huh? There's no place out there for them to stage it?
Well, there would be places they'd have, and that's not unusual from the find staging locations, but the excavators and things, you got to bring in a low boy and load
Right.
it up and haul away.
So it could be a very dirty process every day too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tracking
it takes
things
up
and
time.
everything else.
yeah. And so,
It uses people.
that's something that Nick's already talked to the county about getting relief from that requirement. So, that would be one change that we would make for sure to try to make it.
They've been receptive, the county been receptive to that? I mean, is there room? I mean, they're gonna have to have that construction area cleaned off and
Yeah, so
delineated
there's-
regardless of whether the equipment's there or not.
For most of the project, there's actually 5 lanes. And we're building the pipe right down the center turn lane. And we have had permission to have that closed and then have 1 lane of traffic closed. But they want us to open it up every day at the end of the day, which, like I said, that just adds an awful lot of hassle. And I
Yeah,
think,
you gotta do a lot of stuff.
yeah, and I think a lot of the out of town contractors are like, we don't want to deal with this.
Yeah.
So we actually have a meeting, Nick and I have a meeting set up with the contractor tomorrow to talk about ways to do that. And if it's agreeable to the board, then that's what we'll do is we'll basically we would execute a change order and the contract at the same time that would reduce the scope. And DEQ is okay with that. We've already got the loan paper signed and everything ready to go on that. So that seems like the best course of action at this point.
So I have a question for you. Do you think the county would be agreeable to concrete K-rails surrounding that job work area so that the equipment, I think their biggest concern is someone in the middle of the night is going to run into.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's ever even come up. We don't really use those at the county level. I mean, ODOT uses them all the time.
We had to use them where I came from for this very reason. So we didn't have to get rid of all the equipment on the job every day. It would take, like you said, it takes a couple hours to do that. You know, stop traffic, then you have cleanup, and there are a lot of other things involved in just moving a piece of equipment. It's like you said, getting low beds in there, taking it to another location. So concrete K-rail, if they're working down the middle and you've got a 5-lane road, the concrete K-rails contain all of that.
Yeah.
So if anybody hits anything, they're gonna rub up against a K-rail instead of running into the back of an excavator. I don't know if they'll, I mean, it
Yeah,
seems to be
I
practical.
don't know, but I will certainly look at that because, yeah, that's a lot better than just, pulling everything out of there every day.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So, have you asked the other contractors, and there's 4 other people interested? I mean,
About why they did.
there must be more of a reason than the issue with traffic, because
I don't know if Nick's talked to any of the other plan holders or not. But yeah, I can certainly ask him that. Well, one of the plan holders ended up being a sub on with the guy that did it. And I think that was HGC contractors here locally. And I think they have difficulties getting bonded. So they just, it was Central Pipeline was a low bid, but they only bid. And they got, not HGC, MC Carlton as one of their prime subs to do a lot of work. So they kind of teamed up, which apparently is not collusion.
I think checking out with the county, if we could use barriers,
Yeah.
or if we could do something to mitigate the contractors moving stuff, because that seems to be a hindrance. And then maybe checking out to see if there's anything else that they're having a hard time with. Why?
Yeah.
We only got one person. Right? You know, and yeah, check with, I kind of almost want to do it all over again. And
Yeah.
find out stuff from the county, what we can do to make it easier for the contractors, and then we get it all.
Yeah, and I'm perfectly comfortable with that. If that's the direction that you want us to go, you know, we can do that, and we can button up those issues to make it hopefully more attractive and rebid it.
And maybe we could get it in a place that you can get more done that you wanted to get done.
Is that the direction that?
Please, by still.
Okay.
I think so.
All right, that is what we will do.
Then you'll know if you have to do any other adjustments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might be able to go further than you think you can go. I don't know.
'Cause-
It is kind of odd that you
And then one person that is a subcontractor for the, you know, I think we better check into it some more and
Okay,
see what else we can do.
Can we go to the other partners that we know that did bid on there? Is it kosher to
yeah,
do that?
there's nothing wrong with that. We can call them up and say, hey, you know, you're a plan holder, you came to the pre-bid meeting,
Right.
but you didn't bid, you know.
Why not?
Yeah, why
what was-
not?
Yeah,
what was your
I
concern?
didn't know if that was kosher. It seems like that would be something.
I think, I think it is. I mean, yeah, they don't have to tell us.
No.
But yeah, I think trying to, you know, eliminating some of those uncertainties, I think will help. You know, we'll see how much it helps.
So what's that do to your timetable? How bad is that
Well, I don't know what the time limit is on our loan, but when I talked to DEQ, and that was just yesterday, is it yesterday? Yeah, because we were having trouble with the internet. You know, they threw out just, you know, rebid it in a couple of months and see what happens.
Okay.
And so certainly that's within the realm. Sure. We don't have to do any more design work. That's all.
And in the
done.
meantime, you learn more information, what you can and can't do as far as.
Right.
anybody else.
Yeah, and so that'll, you know, clear up some of that uncertainty, which really is the biggest, you know, contractors make you pay for risk. And the more you can eliminate that risk and uncertainty, then the better off.
Well, yeah, right. And then you actually want them to be able to cover that as well.
Yeah.
So, right, it's part of the contract. Well, do we need a motion on this, or is it just direction?
It's just direction, yeah, it's not really emotion, because we're not awarding anything yet, but you're directing me.
I agree with Kate.
As directors, we're directing you
Yes.
too.
It's in your job title.
I would suggest that we do education, we do that, send it back out to bid. Talk to the partners that we know, get a hold of, find out what their input was.
Okay.
I got just a little bit more on this. So I think it would be good to, get it within, closer to a lot closer to our loan
Yeah.
approval amount.
Yeah.
And even $1 million more than the 6.5 seems like too much to me.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's, the high dollar amount is also contributing to perhaps less bidders.
yeah, because you have,
Well,
capabilities. Yeah.
sometimes people bid high because they really don't want the job.
They were pretty ecstatic that with what they ended up with. Yeah, and, yeah. But yeah, I mean,
I just think sometimes,
I think, it is a bit of a game. I mean, you just might not want a job, but you're willing to do it if the profit margins are much higher.
Yeah.
You might have a good idea that there's not gonna be a lot of bids on it, and, that would inflate it. I mean, there's a lot of things that might fall into the factor.
when you have one person come over as a subcontractor, you're thinking, oh,
Yeah. So, yeah,
Sorry, one more thing.
okay.
So where, on your conversations with the county about traffic control for this project, it sounds extreme.
It does.
I've never known a project that was, you were moving
Yeah,
equipment that far, you were using lowboy daily
Yeah,
to bring equipment in and out.
yeah. So Nick's been one with all having those conversations, and what we've tried to do is get them to allow us to, close down a full lane and the center lane and all that. And I think some of this came off the heels of what we did on Vilas Road over here in Table Rock, which the county was real unhappy with the performance that the contractor did there. And I think coming on the heels of that, they were real hesitant to try to, give any kind of leniency. So I think that might be part of it. But, I know Nick and Craig had a meeting with the county engineer. I guess that was yesterday also. What happened yesterday? And so, I think the reality of they want to be real firm and make sure that we're not abusing the right of way and the speed traffic and all that. But I think, the reality of what that does to the cost on the other end of it, I think, they recognize that a little bit now. So I think they're willing to soften up on that at this stage. So we'll get that tightened up and confirmed.
Actually, James Felt is the county engineer, and I went in and talked to him after our meeting 2 months ago and said, hey, what's up with this? And I got the impression from him that he was going to allow lane closures and open it up quite a bit. So
yeah, and maybe that didn't, I know it came up during the pre-bid meeting, and that's where the part about having to have everything clear at the end of the day came down.
That's not clear in our specifications?
I'd have to double check. I don't think that it is, and it would be on the plans there. I'd have to double check on that, but yeah, and I could be way off base. I mean, that could have nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it could just be the bidding environment is really, really tough. But with one bid, you just don't know. You really have a hard time, justifying that when there's only one person bidding on it. Is there something wrong with the plans? Is there something? Did we just way grossly underestimate what we thought it would cost? We don't have a real good basis for comparison, but it's kind of this first.
If it came in at your engineer's estimate, yeah, you could accept it.
Oh, yeah, then we'd say, yeah, great. Yeah, I mean, even if it came in a little bit higher, but it was
that much
so much higher.
Yeah, it's considerable amount.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll get a chance to clean all that up.
Yeah. So we'll definitely revisit it. We'll make sure we have everything clear as we can with the county about the road closures and that sort of thing. And I'll ask Nick to contact the other plan holders and just see if there was any reasons that they were willing to share of why they didn't bid. And if we can fix any of that, then we will. And wait a couple months and put it back out. I'd say wait a month and then put it back out for a bit of, a month after that. And, hopefully things will be better.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay, that is where we'll go there. Back to Nick's report, the Shady Cove #2 pump station. We are moving forward with that. We're still working on the design. That still has to go up to DEQ for their approval. But we have determined that the best way is kind of how we did on the Arborwood pump station, where we're going to get the whole one-piece fiberglass insert and drop it down in there and connect everything up. So that's going to be slick. That'll be nice when that happens. Let's see. ODOT project in Phoenix. Okay, looks like we've got still one manhole that needs to be relocated out there as part of that project. And we're just kind of coordinating with ODOT's work when that's available. The Ashland pump station #2 force main, that design is done, and that's going to be our construction crew who's going to actually do that work to rebuild that force main. And if you remember what Nick said, that force main, part of it's 4-inch pipe, part of it's 6-inch pipe. We're not really entirely sure where or why it changes. And that's kind of a bad design concept. You don't like force mains changing pipe sizes.
Yeah.
So it does hurt the efficiency of the station overall. So, and it's old and it's thin old plastic pipe. So we want to replace that with a better force main. The cure and replace pipe projects, we already talked about that. That's been awarded. The Cummins stormwater facility, we just make some final edits on the contract documents. We're going to put that out for bid here pretty soon. That has to get reviewed by the DEQ engineer. He did his first review and wanted us to add some language to the contracts regarding Buy America requirements. So we're do that, send it back to DEQ, get their final blessings, and we put that out for bid. The Glenwood stormwater facility, again, that's part of that ODOT project, and we just wait for ODOT to build it. That's the one where the county's donating the land, ODOT's building it, and we're taking it on as a public facility to maintain. And I think that's going to serve, 170 acre drainage basin will be protected once that's built. So that's going to be a pretty nice project. Our SCADA project in Shady Cove. Shane is planning to do a test run here. It was going to be this week, now it's going to be next week. Basically, there's going to be a period of time when we're switching everything over where we're going to be blind. We won't be able to see remotely anything that's happening out there. We won't have any alarms. So we're going to have a person there 24 hours a day. They say it'll take 3 days. We're planning on a week. But we're going to do a test run and pretend like we can't see it for a couple days and see how that goes. But we will still have the alarms active just in case something happens. And then when we actually go to the transition, which I think is going to be probably April, when they install all the new equipment, there's going to be that period of time where we just won't have anything. And so one person is going to have a very boring job at night, where their job is basically to stay awake and walk around periodically and make sure that everything's working. So that's what we're planning on there. And then on the UV disinfection, that's still in the design phase, and I think we're still on schedule to have those designs complete around June.
You mentioned that might come in under the investment might be for that project, right? The UV.
It might be under.
Yeah. Did you think it might come in?
I don't think I mentioned that. I think it's costing more than what I thought it should.
Okay.
But hopefully we'll be able to. We'll see how it goes. It's been a rough week. Everything's costing way more lately than I think it should. But
just in the real world out there,
yeah,
if you can find it, it costs more. If you can find it, even there's things that we should be able to find that aren't there anymore.
So I think that's all Nick has to say.
Okay. Thank you. O&M.
All right, collection system business as usual last month, no significant weather events. What is costing us less is special cleaning. Didn't do any roof saw work, so we're able to cut that down to a cost of $5,026.84 for our system. In Gold Hill at $1,413.02. Treatment, we received 220,950 gallons of septage, 43,490 gallons of porta potty waste, and 36,010 gallons of fat oils and grease for a total revenue of $45,067.30. November treatment totals, we're up about 1 million gallons over October, so 6,053,100 gallons in Shady Cove were treated. And then Gold Hill right on the mark at 1.9 million, almost 2 million gallons. Pump stations were all quiet. That's good news. Contract work was all quiet, but the last day we've gotten 3 phone calls from the city of Cape Junction. Their wastewater treatment plant operator record is retiring next month, and there's nobody to replace him.
Oh
They
my
don't even
gosh.
have an operator that can work during the shift that's even qualified to work as a shift operator. There's no, so he's a collections 3, I think, or excuse me, a treatment 3, and then below that there's no treatment certifications. So I received 2 phone calls yesterday from one of the city staff at today. I actually received it from the person who's retiring. So I told him no, so that means Carl will probably get a call from the city manager next, asking for that as well. So just as a heads up.
So they asked us this years ago. I think you said it was 2017.
2017, yeah.
Kevin and I actually went out there and visited the site. And it's a pretty interesting treatment plant. They've got this huge wetland system. I mean, it's really beautiful out there. But we told them no. I mean, it just makes absolutely no sense for us to be involved in it. It's an hour and a half drive from here. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense at all. And that's what Shane told them already. Is that we've been down that road before, and it doesn't work for us. But this is a DEQ problem. There is absolutely a shortage of operators, and part of that I think can be blamed on DEQ because their barriers to entry in that field are, I think, a little bit ridiculous sometimes.
There's no good way of getting people into it.
Yeah.
Or telling them this is a job that's needed. Yeah, or there's no incentive is where I'm going with it.
But on the flip side is these cities do not pay well.
No, they're small.
And you're asking someone to take on an awful lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
And a fairly high level of training. And for, not particularly good wages. And, it's hard to attract people to an industry that, even though you've got the ultimate job security, practically, they barely let you retire if you want to retire. But it doesn't pay that well. So, why would a person want to get into that? So
that's true.
There's lots of blame to go around. And, we have solved a lot of DEQ's problems. And this is one I don't think we should try to solve.
Although a helicopter would shorten the.
You consider
That'd
doing
be fun.
Say there's other ways.
Budget's coming up, can you tell?
We really could use it. No.
Carl, so, wasn't Grants Pass was asking us last month?
Yeah.
Somebody, okay.
Yeah, and they're in the same position. Their problem is on their collection side. They have enough people at the treatment plant that can handle it, and they have the certifications, but they don't have anybody certified as a level 4 collection system operator. So they were asking us that. And another thing that a lot of these cities don't fully understand is what actually is the responsibility of a person who's considered the, it's not operator of record, but it's, supervising operator is what the title actually is. And if you're the supervising operator, you're in charge of the system. It isn't you come in once a month and you look over their reports and sign off on them. You're supposed to be in charge of every aspect of that. You're supposed to be in charge of work schedules and maintenance schedules and all that stuff. And they have tended to approach this from the realm of, well, we can pay a few $1,000s and Shane will come in once a month and he'll review our reports and he'll sign off and everything's good. Well, that's not the way it is. And I think that's a mindset that a lot of cities have, that it's not right.
The language in there is you have supervisory control of their staff. And that's kind of a tough one for, Grants Pass struggled to deal with that. Even though they were willing to, after we met, because they realized there was no really any other option for them. But in Cape Junction's case, he's also the water treatment guy too. I don't have a water treatment guy when he leaves. But when you have supervisory control, you have to have someone when you leave who's operating the plant, who is licensed appropriately to be operating the plant, and they don't have that. And I guess City of Grants Pass did, but it's a shortage. It's obviously a huge problem. And another thing that came up was Three Rivers School District. They have 2 treatment facilities that you probably weren't aware of. And Carl has had a phone call from the school district before because they don't want to be in the wastewater business, and they've reached out to us before. So that could be coming too. He alluded to they don't have anybody. And they have a little treatment plant at Fleming Middle School, and they have a wastewater lagoon at North Valley High School that takes in the effluent from the ODOT rest area there on the freeway too. So, and we've done some work for the North Valley Industrial Park, which is between those 2 things.
Wow.
But we don't do that anymore. So, and City of Grants Pass asked this operator to be their collection system operator, and he told them he couldn't because he's not licensed to be a collections operator of any kind. So he had to turn that down as well. He was all for double dipping on the PERS tier 1, he said, but he wasn't able to do that. So I'm assuming we're probably going to get more phone calls in the future because they keep, every time they bring up Gold Hill. We didn't actually do Gold Hill that way.
And Gold Hill's 8 miles away.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a big difference.
That's in the Rogue Valley.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. It's in our county.
Yeah. Building grounds, we're still in construction out back for the 3-phase service, but we are making some headway with that actually today, so that's positive. Vehicles and equipment, the TV van chassis is still at the upfitters for the box placement, and I haven't heard any new information on the EV trucks. But I am concerned there's going to be a problem with those. The Chevy Blazer just came out and now it's been shut down. No more production, no more sales, because they have a couple of them out there that have 30 trouble codes that have come up. And the dealership that has it can't fix it because they don't know how to fix it. So now they've shifted people from actual corporate GM who designed it to try to fix it. And it's been 2 weeks and they haven't been able to fix it. So I'm afraid that those 2 things could be linked together with our Silverado trucks and that. And they've shut down the Ford Lightning trucks, so they're not making those right now because of the problem. So we'll see. But that's a new development.
So what are our options on that if they can't fix it?
If they don't produce the vehicle, then we don't pay. I mean, we won't receive anything, so we can't
Go back to buying gas vehicles.
we go back to doing that.
Yeah,
People kind of knew the technology wasn't all there when they started this crap, pardon my English.
Yeah, not good.
in theory, it sounds cool, but it's a theory. Well, it's not, it's more than that, but still, there's so many pieces that have to work. And evidently, we don't have all the pieces together yet.
Yeah, we're still having problems with the medium duty. We have quite a few of those chassis. And there was only 2 allocated dealers from GM in the state of Oregon. Now there's a third and it's local. So now we have an outlet to take our medium duty chassis to, which is nice. Because we were paying for things that were technically covered under warranty, but they were cheaper for us to repair here versus drive it all the way to Salem or Portland to have it fixed. So that's positive. But we had one, but then Butler Ford, they've abandoned all the medium duty stuff. So we have a Ford medium duty chassis that they will no longer work on, that we bought from them, that they were certified to work on, and now they won't. So we've had to do some repairs ourselves on the CNG, because it's a dual fuel truck. So we've made some repairs on the CNG and some other repairs.
It's a good thing the guys out there are
Because
flexible.
we have good folks here that have automotive backgrounds that can do this work, and and now we're CNG certified. Why not? Yeah.
So now we're gonna get RVTD calling us. And
No, I
Buses lined up for it.
don't.
Well, I remember when the RVTD got the CNG buses and how much trouble we had with them at first. It was horrendous,
Yeah.
especially keeping schedules and they couldn't go out and do routes like Ashland routes because they would run out of fuel too soon. It was fun. Anyway,
When I was logging GM for the medium duty local dealership, corporate GM actually contacted me and asked if we would be the medium duty shop. No. We don't do that.
you guys have to stop being good at what you do. You just-
So I was like, oh, this is who we're hoping, one of these 2 people here,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, it worked. So TC Chevy invested the money to become that, because there's some investment in tools and equipment to be able to work on those trucks. So
Good. Good. Okay.
that's it.
Thank you.
all right.
Okay.
So first thing on Gold Hill is the selection of a design engineer. So I put in a loan application with Business Oregon for 1.4 million to cover the design expenses. And the first round of expenses, the engineer came back and said it's going to be about 2.4 million. And I said, no, it's not. So we came back and forth a bunch, and what we're down to, it's just under $2 million is what it looks like the design fees are going to be for this. I do have to if we agree to that, I'd have to make a modification for a loan application to cover that. And a copy of the scope and fees, I just printed those out because they just got the final ones this morning. But there's a couple things that we did not consider as expenses that actually are a lot more than what we anticipated. The environmental assessment is about $130,000, $140,000 for that. And the archaeologic assessment is kind of in the same ballpark. So between those 2, that's almost $300,000 on top of what we thought. The geotechnical investigations are over $200,000.
Wow.
And they're talking about doing core samples like every 1,000 feet or something like that, which seems outrageous. But part of the reason for that is that we really want to look at the option of directional drilling. And we think that if we are able to do directional drilling, that would have a big impact on our construction costs. And so the only way to really know for sure you can do that is to do this exploration. So it's, there's some fees that just really jumped out at us that look kind of outrageous. I mean, some stuff we eliminated. I think there was, I can't remember, they had an architect on board for, I'm gonna say, over $100,000. So we don't need an architect. But anyway, Nick and I have been through the cost proposals, and I can't really find any holes in it at this point. It seems very high, but it's also seems like it's, there's nothing unreasonable about it. I mean, there's some things that strike me, like the archaeologist, but you are going through a historic town, so that's going to be part of it. And apparently, there are other cultural resources along the route that have been identified that we may encounter. So there's some legitimate concerns there. The environmental assessment,
It is what it is.
It's tough knowing that we're going to be in the road, but we still have to go through it. And there is a mapped wetland that we're going to go past, but we're in the road, and the wetland's not in the road. But I think given that part of this money, the bulk of this money is actually coming from the federal side, the USDA. They're real stringent about that. And so you don't, I was able to do, for the 3 loans we got through DEQ that we're working on with Antelope Road and coming, I did all of that. And it didn't cost no $200,000, I tell you that. It could have.
We appreciate you, Paul. We appreciate you.
But we're on the federal side here. It is a somewhat bigger project. So and we are trying to keep this as much as arm's length as we can. So I guess my recommendation is that we move forward and execute this contract with Tetra Tech and move forward with the project. I'm keeping an eye on. Every time something comes up, I go back and my initial projections on what rates are going to be, and I see if I'm still in the ballpark. I think we're still working. I mean, obviously the construction is going to be the biggest part of it, but that's where we are right now, I guess.
Okay. So for this part, we need a.
Yeah, I do want a motion to authorize me to go ahead and execute that contract with Tetra Tech.
But I've got the cheater sheet. If somebody wants to make the motion.
You make the motion? I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I missed.
Or Roger.
Roger,
can.
I move to authorize the manager, authorize for the manager to execute the contract with Tetra Tech for the design Gold Hill Intertie project, subject to obtaining a design loan from Business Oregon for Florida.
I'll second.
What? Do we need the loan amount in there?
Well, it's in the it was just it was 1.9 something million. You can put that in your motion if you want.
I don't think we need it.
I don't think.
I mean, I think you need to do it whether you get the loan or not.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. All right, then take that out of the motion. That doesn't have to be part of the motion.
Is there concurrence with that?
Yeah.
All right, I'll restate it. I move to authorize the manager to execute a contract with Tetra Tech for the design of the Gold Hill Intertie project. Very.
Okay, got it. And you are good with that? With
I
your
second it, yes.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Kate Harrison,
Yes.
Roger Tom,
Yes.
Mike Person,
Yes.
John Egbert.
Yes.
Okay, so still on Gold Hill on the funding. We got 3 sources of funds. The first one is Business Oregon. And like I said, we're going to modify that application to increase it from 1.4 to 2 million. 750,000 of that will be forgiven. So the increase is going to have to be all paid back, but we'll get 750,000 part of it forgiven. The Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund, that application's in. They have not published a new intended use plan yet. I'm not sure when that's supposed to come out, but I expect we'll be pretty highly ranked when that comes out. And that would be used for construction. So we're still quite a ways away from needing that. And then the USDA money, that's the Rural Development Fund. That's a weird one because you have to clear all of your environmental stuff before you make the actual application. So we have a website portal where we just work through all steps. And then once we've gotten through all the steps, then we make the application. But Tetra Tech's doing all that. I mean, they're going to do all that once we have them on contract. But I've got that process started. We still have standing meetings, Brenda and I, with all the funding people, every, after the board meeting. I do it the afternoons after our board meeting. So that's 2:00 today, and just give them updates and see where we are in that. So that's Gold Hill. The Cumming Stormwater Facility, we mentioned that, that's ready to go. We just need to make some final changes to the contract and put that out to bid. The Antelope Road, we talked about that, so we will be rebidding that one. And this is a summary of where we are with Gold Hill. Yeah, the permits transferred to us, the MAO deadlines. Once we get Tetra Tech under contract, that's when I'll request the extension of all the deadlines to meet our new contract terms. Assumption of the loans, nothing's changed since last meeting. Hopefully there'll be more information today about us assuming the loans. The transfer of assets, we have the properties in our name, and we're working on an agreement to get the cash sent over to us. The sewer billing, I guess we're 2 months in now. And so it went pretty smoothly. I think in the first month of our first billing, we got a little over 50%.
Yeah, right
paid
about
on time.
50% paid on time, but since December and part of January, we received a lot of phone calls of them getting their second bill going, what is this? I don't know what this is about.
So they never
threw-
saw the first bill.
Right, or they just threw the postcard away, assuming it's junk mail or whatever.
Mhm.
So we're slowly getting more and more on board, but those are a lot of phone calls that we're still
Mhm.
getting is, what is this bill? I thought it was fraud or whatever, so. I'm hoping our percentage increases of us receiving the money sooner, more timely, but our
Well,
first go was about 50%.
Yeah, and it was nice they put the Dropbox there,
Mhm.
Gold Hill. Maybe that'll be helpful
And
for some folks.
we get water bills in there too, so we
Jen picks it up once a week, goes up to the Gold, picks up our Dropbox, and we did our first franchise fee transfer over to them. So everything's going smooth. It's just still to get the customers on board to pay us. Because, they pay Gold Hill, but there's like a line on there that has sewer. But it's not us, and so they're like, why are we getting billed by both? Still a little bit confusion.
They have a line for sewer still on their bill.
That's what one of the customers told us, and I was like, you better look
Yeah.
at your bill again, so.
Yeah.
And just to put in perspective, with our regular billing, we get about 85% of people paying on time. every month. So we got a little ways to go with the bill, but like Brenda says, it's new. I'm not too concerned about that at this point, but if it continues like that for about 3 months, then it might be more of an issue.
Yeah,
How many billing customers are there in total for Gold Hill?
600, less than 600.
97, 597, so that was top of my head.
You're talking about $60,000 a month.
Not even.
Mhm.
It's about 40 or 45,000.
45,000.
Mhm. So that 30,000 per month, and then anything over goes into the debt fund. We
Yeah.
tend to cheat that in the first
Yeah.
month, but we will get it in time.
It just seems like Gold Hill could do something to help remind their clients in their town they have a bill to pay. And it's just not something, it's not false, it's not out of the blue, it's not a scam.
Mhm.
They seem like they could help a little bit in that regard. Some kind of advertising, city hall notice board, whatever.
They do put out a monthly newsletter, so maybe we'll just mention them, ask them to put a note on that.
right. Hey, remember you
Yeah.
voted for RVSS to take over?
Right, you approved this.
I will be curious when January completes and we look at how much we received in January,
Mhm.
how much of November and December we received, to see if because we got quite a few phone calls getting it, making sure that this is really a true
Yeah.
bill and all that understanding. Where do I put my bill? I used to always just give it to the city and now they have the drop box. It's only been there a few weeks. I don't know, the holidays kind of flies, but
In part, I kind of understand it because you have the holidays.
yeah,
It's something new. The demographics of who lives in Gold Hill. I kind of understand, yeah,
And a lot of people are used to getting like a return envelope with their bill.
Yeah.
And we still send out postcards,
yeah.
and so that kind of throws
Yeah.
people off sometimes.
there was also quite a few, I would say probably 20 that we didn't have the right address for, or we were billing an old owner instead of the right owner. We had a few weird things that we just had to work out as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
From the data we got from Gold Hill was
Right.
not super accurate. And we
Yeah.
tried to correct it as much as we could before we sent out that new bill, but
Yeah,
we're getting there.
Has the RV park paid their first bill yet? The one that was just,
I don't know.
see over one
I don't
bill or 78.
Yeah, I don't know if they paid or not. I know she sent a letter to all of her tenants saying that she was increasing their rent to cover the sewer costs.
We did get one phone call from one of her customers.
I got
What
two.
is this? Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Maybe that was the one that got transferred to you, but I haven't looked to see if she paid.
Curious about that.
it'll be interesting. It's just one of those things will take a little bit of time.
Yeah, a little more shaking to
Yeah.
get it all worked out. I think.
If the city could,
Agreed, help encourage that little
help,
postcard's
yeah,
real.
hey, remind, hey, guys, remember, yeah, you gotta pay RVSS now. Yeah, that would be helpful too, but yeah,
There's a lot of optimism over there right now with the new city manager. With the council and all that.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope she can do a good job. So. Anyway. What else? Anything else?
That's all I have. Oh, that's right, that's in here too. Thank you, Carol.
That's what I'm here for.
That, required board training. So apparently it's a law that if you're on an elected board, you have to go to a certain, government ethics commission training,
Oh, yeah.
that they don't have yet. But at some point, so the law is that you have to do this, at least once, is it per term or just during the first term?
No, per
Per term. So be on the lookout for that. We're hoping that they'll be able to do it just like as a webinar, and you just have to sign in and do that. I don't know if any of the sessions at the SDAO conference will qualify.
They said no. The CEO said no.
They're saying no?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
That's just bogus. It should be able to do it.
yeah. So, like I said, we don't know exactly what the trainings are going to be, but it is something you all are gonna have to do. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to do it just as a webinar.
That would be fine, yeah.
You can do it here, or you can do it at home, or whatever, so.
Like a Zoom meeting class.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, it's once per term, so. Yeah, we got at least more than a year before anyone's term is up. So we're in okay shape for now.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okey-dokey. So the last thing we have is paying bills.
I'll move to approve the claims listing as presented or modified.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please. Yeah.
Rutherford,
Yes.
McPherson,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Weaver,
Yeah.
and Joanne.